Looks like we may be live. So, hello everyone. I'm Anthony Purcell. I'm the director of bands here at the University of Central Missouri, and I want to welcome all of you all who are tuning in right now to this live stream. And hope that over these next few weeks of course, some very uncertain times, that we might be able to navigate these waters together. Hopefully, only temporary, as many people have expressed, obviously. So we're in some very uncharted territory right now. And with that, there has certainly been some challenges thrown our way as music educators, obviously as general human beings as well, but particularly for our discipline, where a lot of our colleagues in some of the other disciplines, academia and whatnot, are now moving online. And this environment is strange to everyone, including the students. Just a little bit about me. I've got a 13 and a 14-year-old at home, and both of them are very technologically savvy. And but I know that this is a very trying time for the two of them as well, because we're in a situation right now where there's so much unknown. And obviously, we think we turn on the television every day and we say, "Hey, Bethany." We see that that there is a lot of uncertainty in the sense of what to expect next. I put out a video to my wind ensemble students yesterday, just because they're so used to getting communication from me in in digitally, obviously, when it comes to email. Sometimes we'll use some text messaging services through Charms or through Remind Me 101 or Remind 101. There's a lot of platforms out there for that, and our students are technologically savvy, and we are always told, meet them where they are. Well, we're in such a place right now where nobody knows where we are in so many ways. In this message I sent out to my students yesterday, coming to the realization here in 2020 that a good number of them were not even alive back when the events unfolded back in 9/11, for those of us that were cognizant at that time, no matter what age we were. I was teaching high school back in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And, at that time, as we're watching the events unfold on live television, we didn't know which direction we were going to go as a country. We didn't know what was going on. There was so much uncertainty, et cetera, so much angst. And, it really is a trying time and all. So, and very much the same right now, except we're not watching this really unfold in the same sense. But yet we're getting information all the time. We're getting information left and right, from the sense of it's changing this week. Unfortunately, numbers going up as far as cases, and other things such as the stock market going down. It's hard to turn on the television and be overly optimistic, but seeing the strength of the music ed world really come together, it has been amazing. And in fact, before we even started having quarantine requests and now requirements in many of our communities, the music ed community really did start to rally around each other. And there's some that I'm privy to, some that you all are that I am not. We see from CBDNA, College Band Directors National Association, from NAFME, from all of the other service organizations, and including MMEA here. And shout out to my president, Chris Sprague, who I believe is watching right now. And Chris had asked me, as the newly appointed technology chair for Missouri Music Educators Association, if we would find a way to collaborate all of these ideas together. I don't know about you, but in my email inbox, I probably have maybe no short of 100 to maybe 150 emails of just what is now best practices for moving online, including the wonderful staff we have here at the University of Central Missouri, as many of our higher ed folks have done, as many of our school districts have done. My wife teaches in the Warrensburg school districts here. She's a math teacher. So she helps me with all the numbers beyond 4/4 time, and even 3/4, because sometimes 4 is hard. But anyway, seeing all of the folks rally around each other to get through this together. And quite frankly, that is the motto. I know here near Kansas City, we hear a lot of that. I listen to talk radio on my way into to the office at times, which is where I am today because did a practice run yesterday for all of this, and seeing a whole bunch of you all in the comment section there. It's great to see so many people. Hi to everybody. Doing a practice run yesterday with this, just to make sure it works. As technology chair, you need to know how to work the technology, right? Chris, no second thoughts there. But anyway, as I'm doing this, and my wife was downstairs in the basement because our daughter is doing online dance classes now with her Center Stage Academy here, going completely online for the same reasons we all are with our public and private schools. But anyway, listening to the lawn folks nearby starting to cut grass and all that, I thought it's probably not the best environment. So I'm in my office here. It is very quiet, as it is, I'm sure, on many college campuses and other campuses throughout the entire country. So anyway, I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction of myself, just to kind of give you a little bit of a background. Obviously, this is not new news. It's certainly not fake news, but it is the news that we're presented in the sense that we really don't know where we're going. So to see so many people rally around, it's been nothing short of extraordinary here, and it's tremendous to know the colleagues and the foresight that we have with our leadership here in Missouri with MMEA to know it's time to put this together before there's a real need. In my email inbox, having so many emails of what's best practices and where to go, Chris Sprague thought that this would be a very good, so to speak, repository of all of these sites. And having been able to collaborate on that and encouraging our membership through Facebook to do the same, I really think that we've got a great thing going there. And I do plan on sharing, I think in the comments section, I'm going to try this near the end when I ask you all if you all have some questions, because that's the whole purpose of this. And I was going to kind of get to that here in a second. But I'm going to try to put those links in the comment section here. If they don't work for the things I'm planning to share with you all this afternoon, I do plan on putting them on my personal Facebook page. The access to the UCM website here, as far as the band website and our School of Music website, it takes a little bit longer, and obviously there are a few other pressing issues that are going on all of our campuses. So I'll try to find a way to get those links to you all. And if you're not friends with me on Facebook, please go ahead and do so. Certainly don't mind more friends, but I will post these links there just to be sure. Again, I'll try posting them in the comments section, and I'm not sure how that will go, but we'll give that a shot. So anyway, so part of what we wanted to do with these technology sessions was to kind of, besides getting all these emails and the repository that Chris had mentioned before, is to really put a face in front of folks, hopefully a friendly face, and this is what you've got. So sorry, I look for filters, but I'm figuring this out. But anyway, the thing that we thought we would do is put a face in front of you, maybe give you a few ideas, some things, because I don't know about you, but reading through all these emails has been a daunting task, just the ones that we get on a normal basis. But now all of these new best practices, and this doesn't work for me, and I don't have that piece of technology, and boy, that would be great for my kids, but do my kids have access to that? There's so many things going on right now that I think it's just so much overload that Chris thought this would be a fantastic opportunity. So what we're planning on doing is we have, besides myself, we have 6 other presentations that will be coming in the next few weeks. And to try to keep things as organized as possible, so that way you could maybe plan your day around the ones that are most pressing for you, the ones you feel that would be the best benefit. We try keeping them on the exact same days and times, just so that way there's some familiarity there, build it into your schedule. And I do believe, and I will have to double check here, we're going to find out, yesterday's test session was a success, although none of you all will ever see that, because there were quite a few anecdotal comments on, well, I guess, we'll figure this out together. But anyway, we have 6 sessions that we're going to present to you. There is a flyer that we were posting all over social media. I attempted to do this yesterday with Twitter, And let's just say I'm still learning Twitter a little bit, but it is on Facebook. And again, if you friend me on Facebook, I'll make sure that you can probably see it in my timeline, but I will share it again just so it is more active. But Elise Jones will be following up next from Colorado, actually. And Elise actually runs the Facebook page that many of you all have probably already become a member with. That is for teaching music education online, and so many concepts that go along with that. She's also the CEO of Music Ed Mentor, which the International Music Education Summit. So many things that are now being able to be presented online as great supplements to what we do in classroom with our face-to-face is just an outstanding resource there. She's going to talk to us on a variety of subjects on Monday, March the 30th, from 9 to 10 a.m. So Monday from 9 to 10 a.m. Central Time, that is. We tried keeping that time slot open. And then on Thursdays, also at 9 a.m. This upcoming Thursday, a week from today, my colleague from UCM here, Adam Zaroost, is going to talk specifically about vocal music suggestions and be answering your questions as they may arrive here in the chat. And I hope that for any questions that may come in today, after talking with you for a little bit, that I'm able to answer, or at least maybe point you in a direction, or at least get you a resource that hopefully will be of benefit. So following that, we have 4 other presenters who will be presenting on a wide variety of subjects, from jazz band specific resources, instrumental music ed folks, as far as the collegiate, but also the students who are college age students who maybe want to get a little bit more. A grad student of mine from Kansas State who's now teaching at the University of Maine, Dr. Phil Edelman, will be joining us and talking with some things specifically to that college level, so to speak, but definitely some resources that may help out with our K-12 folks and et cetera. And after that, Elise Gutshoff from Missouri Western will also be talking about some general music suggestions. And then my colleague here, Julia Balmanis, with her husband, Adam Klein, will be talking about how to make the sound better in this new virtual online environment. So Julia's the Associate Director of Bands here, Director of Athletic Bands, a great resource, a very, very fun personality and very effective in the classroom. And her husband, who's just a fantastic sound engineer and very practical type of guy. He's that type of guy, if you ever have technological questions and if you ever called, he's the type of person who could walk anybody through any kind of problem. So if you've got some tinfoil and a coat hanger, you could probably make things sound better because Adam will probably know how to make that work. So, so for all of my colleagues who have agreed to do these sessions, thank you all very much. I've taken about 13 minutes to kind of introduce the whole thing here, and want to kind of maybe just share a few things with you from particularly a large ensemble director, if you will, because I think for many of us as band, choir, and orchestra directors, doing recorder ensembles, some smaller ensembles and all that, I think there's a lot of angst in how do I continue? What do I do to give, what do I give my students so that way they've got the opportunity to still learn because they're not in front of me as a group and all. So I'll be happy to talk about that here. Got a couple of suggestions and then open it up for some questions and all, but just kind of scanning through the live chat here. Gosh, there's a number of you all who, some former students who are out teaching right now. And hi, Chris, you are online. I see that. And yeah, I don't tweet very much. That is right, Kim, and that's probably a good thing. Betty White is my hero when it comes to the Twitter. So, but learning how to do that, because everything we do is marketing, you know, try to get people to our concerts, and from a recruiting standpoint, trying to meet where the kids are. Problem is, I found out that Facebook is for the grandparents, Twitter is maybe now for the parents, and there's somewhere else. Something about TikTok, and let's just say I've downloaded it, I've looked at it, and Chris, seeing that really I don't see any questions. I see a lot of people saying where they're from and where you're teaching. It's great to see we've got a great number of people here. Hey, Chuck, in from Sullivan there. And Julia's online too. Hey, Julia. Anyway, it's good to see so many of our folks here in the state of Missouri and in Kansas, our surrounding sister state, so to speak, if you all, or cousin, I don't know, whatever we want to do this family relationship. Let's just take the border away at this point because I-70 doesn't know. Um, anyway, it's just great to see so many of you all. And let me get to a couple of ideas here. And as things come through the chat, hopefully I can maybe answer some questions that you all have and go from there. Okay. And not any hard questions there, Chris. You need to rephrase that. Please post easy questions you have for Anthony. So anyway. So here's kind of from a large ensemble standpoint, because I don't know about where all of our interests are. I know that seeing some of those you all in the list, I'm pretty sure we probably span everything from K-12, collegiate, professional, community organizations, etc. Yeah. But one of the things that I think about is how do we keep our kids engaged and what do we give them? I kind of started this whole thing with Facebook, with YouTube. We were originally going to try to do Facebook, but then realized that that would probably limit our audience quite a bit. Excuse me. And I'm getting to that one, Julia. That's actually where I'm headed first, so thank you. The thing that most of us are probably figuring out is, what do we give our kids? Our kids are much like us. And again, looking at my 13 and 14-year-old, they're very happy they're not in school, but they're also not, because the new norm, as I kind of call it for now, hopefully this will just be very temporary and not be looked at as, oh, well, we could deliver all of our content online forever. I think we've already seen so much that we miss the human interaction. We miss that opportunity to look at a student face to face. We miss that opportunity to be in front of them and create something that is magical. Sometimes the magic is a little different, but it's still magical, right? We have so many things being thrown at us at one time. Our kids are in that same boat. So whether you're teaching elementary school or you've got college students, we are all facing the exact same thing. The angst that we have, I'm 46 years old. I've got a number of years before retirement, but I know some of my colleagues who are closer are looking at the stock market, and just out of curiosity, while I'm on Facebook Live, looks like we're up about, it was 1,100, now it just went to 791, but it's still in the green. So there's angst everywhere. It's just, what flavor of angst are we really talking about? Our kids are doing the same thing. Driving in, listening to talk radio about the number of parents who are just having a different appreciation maybe for what teachers do. I can't keep my two kids active and engaged and doing this, that, and the other in their schedules. They're all over the place. How do you all do it with a class of 20, 30, 80? I think that a lot of those things are really coming to fruition of what it is we really do. Does it take something like this? Well, let's make the best of what we've got. And then sometimes the best appreciation does come from sometimes the worst experiences. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to move forward, but we have to do so in a very responsible way, which leads me to a couple of ideas here. I always try to think, what is it my kids are learning in my class? What are the objectives? What's the end result? What is the goal of that class? And for what I do with particularly the large ensembles, is obviously create music as a community. In the collegiate ranks here, we typically have our majors and sometimes even minors or non-music majors. They're taking lessons with an applied music professor. I'll just use clarinet, but Beth Stempert, who is our clarinet professor here at UCM, she has her kids doing scale, she has them doing other fundamentals, and then she has them doing etudes. They sight read together. They do a bunch of things that is appropriate for that setting. What we do in the wind ensemble here, and what my colleague does in her symphonic band, is we take all of those acquired skills and we put them together. So to have a student do a recording excerpt of something that's in their folders that we may or may not do. Some school districts in Kansas in particular have already closed for the entire rest of the year as far as face-to-face contact. Will they be working on that is the question. We obviously don't know. And here in Missouri, as well as many other places, there's still that opportunity. We're still going to see our kids. But we don't know. So for me, what I've decided to do was take a little bit of a different approach in having my kids engage not only in the literature that we potentially will play or would have played had these cancellations not happened, but also how can I continue their fundamentals in maybe a practical way that is applicable on many scopes. So whether you're doing vocal or strings, etc. There are so many different ways that you can approach this. And here's just a couple. For instance, the fundamentals one, and I am not able to do a screen share with you all, but I will post this. I may actually try doing this in real time and seeing what happens. And then you all can let me know, hey, that worked perfectly, or try again. And again, I will post these on my personal Facebook page and try to find a few other platforms. But I just shared with you all a form. Actually, that was the wrong one. That was the one I was going to do after. Sorry. Let's see, copy link here. Let me send this one to you all. If you all are able to open this, I think I might actually be able to see that it is being shared. Do not have access to the form. Okay, I see that, Elizabeth. Let's see, how about the second link? Yep, I see people joining in. Wonderful. So Elizabeth, if you don't mind, it seems like some of you all may have trouble with that first form. And what that is that's actually the second part of this. But what I thought would be, second link is good. Thank you, Elizabeth. One of the things that I thought would be good for my students to do is to continue to engage them into actively listening to music, which would involve that second link. And if that second link doesn't work, again, I will try to find a different way to present that to you all. Second link is good. Good. Okay. But anyway, so for my students here at UCM, what I thought we would do, because let's face it, basketball has also been canceled in March Madness, but I think that's copyrighted. So if it is, I didn't say that. But anyway, I decided to use a wind ensemble type of bracket, if you will, of music that I'm considering for next year. And in particular, if you look at this, there are actually two tabs in this MMEA sessions idea presented online Google Sheets file that I shared with you all. One of them is titled WE for Wind Ensemble, Lit Fall 2020 September Family Weekend Concert. We do a family weekend here for our athletic event for our football team, and there's a whole bunch of things that happen throughout the week that our students are promoted for being actively engaged, etc. And one of the things we like to do is bookmark that weekend, typically at the end, with a family weekend concert. So what I thought we would do is I limited it to one, music that I expect that we should be able to do. It's certainly got some challenges there. And music that I think that the students would really be engaged, but also our audience. Here being in a slightly rural community, I did a article with the instrumentalists a number of years ago on how to program for your ensembles. And one of the things that sometimes we forget about is we do want to program towards our community. When I was teaching in Stephenville, Texas, it was dubbed the cowboy capital of the world. And the former band director and I talked, Jonathan Hooper. He said, one of those, I started playing some Sousa marches. I started playing some tunes that would actively get those folks to be curious, at least. And then once they got there, I had to show them this is a place that they could feel safe. So some of the lit that you see there is a little more academic in sense. So there's a few pieces that I may add in personally as a filler to make sure that we also capture some of the audience from the sense of our students, and our students that we're trying to attract, but also some of the younger crowd, some of the high school, middle school age students, that they would actually enjoy that concert. So what you're seeing here is a March Madness type of bracket that I ask my students to look at, and which I will ask them to do. It's actually coming on Monday when our classes officially resume. And I've broken this down, which is the second link there, where they actually only get 4 of these pieces at a time. The one I was trying to share with you all is the lyrical division. So for right now, we'll just kind of look at this area here, the top right-hand corner of the screen on the first tab there, the lyrical division. And I'm trying to incorporate some music that I think would really capture our audience. And so these 4 pieces here were ones that I selected, and I just ranked them 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was telling my colleague last night when I was sharing this idea with her, I said, Julia, one of the things I started doing was I looked at when the piece was composed, like the Danu. was just recently done. I think 2018 is its official date, maybe 2019. University of Missouri just premiered it at CBDNA with Brian Sylvie. He actually just did this at their conference that they fortunately got to do before the whole shutdown. But it had so many views with a recording that was done by Eastman and not that long ago. So I looked at that as being a quote, a number one. I had this formula and this plan, and I even brought my wife and I said, hey, would you mind helping me with this percentage? And she looked at me and said, why don't you just sign things up as a 1, 2, 3, 4? I don't think anybody's really going to take that serious. Okay. So the better half of me, listening to my wife, of course, I decided to do something a little different. I just numbered these 1 through 4. But anyway, what it does is it puts them in comparison to each other, much like a tournament. And now the students will listen to the Danu and they'll listen to Jennifer Jolly's Ash. And I will ask them to vote for one of those two. And at the very end of that form, and again, that Google form, let me actually try a different format as if I'm trying to invite you all to participate in it. Let's see. I will do this. Oops, not copy. Technology chair here, Chris. There we go. And if that one works, if you all want to just play around with that, you don't have to listen to the piece right this moment, but if you want to just select, it's a very simple Google form that I think many students will have access to. And you could see the full bracket, which allows the students to kind of see it, not only this lyrical one, but also how does it unfold in the future? Because back to the bracket, they're going to choose between the Danu and the Jolly, and then they're also going to choose between the Meechin and the McAllister. And then after that, I'll push those, whichever ones we need permission to view it. Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I did that. Let's see. I'm not going to take too much time here to do it. Gotcha. Thank you, Bethany. I may have to share this. Let's see. Preferences. Okay. There you go. Thought I troubleshot everything I could. Let's see. Let me just look at one other possibility. Okay, a lot of you all are saying same with that. Settings. Restrict to University of Central Missouri. Okay, you know what? Let's not do that because this is in a special folder to share with you all. Let's copy it. Now, let's try. I'm not sure if the link will change. Actually, it looks like it did. Try that link there. And let me know if you all are able to access that form, if you don't mind. It should come up with like a lime green colored Wind Ensemble Family Weekend bracket lyrical division. If that works, it's good. All right, great. Thank you all. Sorry about that. So as you can see, what the students will then receive is, first off, they have access to seeing the bracket, but they don't have write access to it. And all of this, obviously, I'm encouraging you all to copy whatever you want. There's no shortage of people trying to help each other out there. And, why keep something that you believe in a secret? Somebody else may find a very good use for it, rather the exact same thing or be able to morph it into what works for them. But anyway, as you all can see on this, you got the lyrical division. They vote for the Ash or the Jolly, they vote for the Jolly or the Danu. And then they scroll down. Of course, I provided the links in there as well for them. And Google is fairly simple about doing this, but if there's interest in figuring this out, I will try to do a online tutorial, which I'll also try to link. It'll be after the fact, obviously, because I've not done that. But I'll try to do an online tutorial. If I could figure it out, it's pretty self-driven, I think. But I'll go ahead and try to do that as well and put that on Facebook. Because I know a lot of times you'll see this and go, how did he do this and all that? And, it's user-friendly until it's not. So, but you can see they choose the Jolly or the Danu. The excerpts are there for them. And then they also choose between the McAllister and the Meechin. They got some general comments where they basically can just say, listen, I really prefer the Jolly and the Danu, and the McAllister and the Meechin really didn't, do it for me, let's just say it. But they don't have that option. If I got a lot of comments that said that, then, it's okay. You can't always change the number 16 team that plays the number 1 team, and sometimes they win. But sometimes you want to look at that. Okay, we could be flexible, and then maybe you have I don't know, a play-in game that you have to backtrack or so. Your students. There will be no shortage of opinions. I've always said if you've got four people in a room, you've got eight different ways of how to do the job that you're doing. So, but anyway, I thought that this would at least keep my kids engaged. And it is something that I will seriously consider. Now, if they choose all of the most difficult works and all that, what I'll do is and say, okay, instead of doing all four of these for the family weekend concert, how about we do these two for family weekend, we do these two for November, or we break it up, however. But to honor their choices, it may be one of those things that a lot of students look at and go, oh, great, I have a voice in what we are programming. Because of where this is happening, obviously there'll be some graduating seniors who may want to participate in this, but not have that opportunity to perform. As I told my kids here, I want to keep you engaged, and I want to make sure that you have that opportunity. But yes, I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of like taking a trip and saying, hey, we're going to Ireland next year, and which we are. But a lot of those students are like, well, I'm graduating. Great. We are also going to have an alumni presence that we're going to offer as well. So that's still a possibility for you. Sometimes you can't do that. And in this case here, this may be something where, hey, I'm going to program this for my November, December concert for those of you all who are doing, middle school and high school ensembles. So if that works for you, great. It gives the students some ability to look at different literature, even literature you may not do, and presents it in a format that we were kind of slighted this year. We didn't get our March Madness brackets. So my wife and I always do these brackets, and let's see, what if we're alumni of where you used to teach, Bethany? Come on down, Bethany, anytime. Bring your trombone too while you got it. So, the thing that I look at with this March Madness opportunity, it's a chance to put things in a familiar format for the students, and it maybe gets them engaged in listening to literature that you may not play. Because let's face it, the amount of literature that is here, this is probably good for my ensemble for at least a year and a half, let's just say, to tackle. There's some heavy hitters here, and there's some great music. But again, gives your students that opportunity to be engaged in this whole process while we're kind of locked up. So I'm going to kind of just pause here for a moment, get a quick drink of water. But if there's any questions, I'd encourage you all to maybe ask them in the chat at this moment. And then I'll present maybe my second idea as well to you all, which is in this same file. So. And I promise it's water. So Sam, you're asking about have you ever been able to, kind of like the Eric Whitaker thing, be able to teach in a virtual large ensemble? I have not. I have been very interested in what Eric Whitaker has done with the virtual choir, and quite honestly, it's tremendous. For the amount of time that we pretty much have had to prepare to go from being voluntarily quarantined to schools canceling, and now we have to teach primarily online. I think, one, that is a major concern on how to construct all of this in such a short time frame. Plus, in many of our communities, and I know particularly where you are as well, Sam, as well as many of our Missouri and Kansas folks that are watching right now, sometimes our students live in very, very remote areas where internet access may not even be as available or even reliable. So I know that, one, I have shied away from it. There are now, and I see some others. I've started checking students on Zoom. Exactly, yeah, and you can do some things. I mentioned my daughter who's taking ballet. She does lyrical as well, but she does ballet over at Center Stage here in Warrensburg. I have watched a little bit of what goes on, and there is a small time delay. Here, there's actually on Facebook, which obviously there's not a collaboration except through the chat. There is actually a 4-second delay. I know in radio they used to have, and they probably still do, a 7-second delay, so that way you can edit out inappropriate comments or whatever. So I've got 4 seconds to, I don't know how to edit it out, but anyway, I know that there are oftentimes some delays, and obviously I think connectivity is going to be a slight issue with that. So Sam, and for those of you all who are able to set up the virtual environments, and I always credit, Eric Whitaker. He was one of the first to do it on such the large scale. That is something that really, I think, is a heroic effort. Now, there are creative ways of doing it. And I see Chris is actually answering in here now about Kathy Kunis, I think it is, had a good question about the best platform to perform virtual duets with the students. Oh, thanks for bringing it up. I think, quite honestly, I know Zoom, my colleagues here at the university have mentioned Zoom is probably one of the best platforms as far as free and accessible and all of that to students. As far as the sound quality, there have been concerns about FaceTime and also, oh my goodness, I just lost track of the other one that is very frequent that we all use. It was one of the first ones, but oh goodness. Anyway, some of those platforms, Skype, that's it. So someone's about to text it in. I know it. 4-second delay, right? But anyway, Skype and FaceTime, I know that there were some concerns about that as well. There you are, Julia. I'm only 4 measures ahead of you right now. But anyway, I know that there were some issues with some of those other platforms. So Zoom is probably one of the best. My colleague Band Hub is another one that was mentioned today in our faculty meeting, which we were meeting right before this meeting. I've not had a chance to explore that one, but it certainly seems as though its coordinated efforts are to what we're trying to do. And I don't mean band particularly, but just in the sense of trying to have a centralized location to where we can still have a performing group. So I'd be curious to check that out personally. But I would say Zoom is probably going to be one of our best platforms. And from what I've been told, we have several pro accounts here on campus, which takes away that 40 minutes issue that a lot of people experience with the free version. But from what I've been told, Zoom has waived a lot of that, particularly if you have like a .edu or if you can be identified as a school system. From what I understand, they have waived that. You might get a warning, but most people have been able to go through. I can't vouch if that is 100% accurate or if there have been problems, but I think for what our students are doing right now, what is applicable to what it is we're trying to do. My son right now, his science teacher, his geometry teacher, my goodness, even his weights coach, he's taking a weights class at the high school here. Everybody's emailing him and saying, here's what you do, here's some assignments, here's this, here's that. And everybody obviously is trying to get on this bandwagon at the same time. Unlike the summer vacation where we're not in school, we should be in school. So again, going back to that whole angst, issue, I'm trying to find a way to keep my kids engaged, but realize everybody else is trying to figure this out. And I won't say the word dumping because that has a negative connotation. That's not it at all. But everybody else is doing it also at the same time because we want our kids to be successful and we want them to have everything as soon as possible, so that way they can get to it on the time frame that's necessary. So this is one reason why I've chosen the route I have with this bracketology thing. But there is another one I want to share with you all, if you don't mind. In that same file, the MMEA session ideas presented with the Family Weekend bracket, if you look, there is a second tab down there that's titled Fussell Fundamentals Idea. And if you take a look at that, just text in the chat here if you have an issue with that. I know sometimes on iPads and iPhones, the tabs are a little bit more difficult to see, but I think if you kind of play with it, it'll actually get its way to where you can see the tabs. But what I did, I just created this pretty quickly because when I was in middle school, my band director, who I just lost about 2 years ago, Lloyd Brackney, my band director had a system of fundamentals that kept us all engaged, and obviously being in a face-to-face environment. I got this little gem out because I did a presentation at MMEA in January, and this book right here, which many of all may be familiar, I'm trying to get the glare out of it. It's the Raymond C. Fussell, or Fussell, I like calling it Fussell, that I used when I was a middle school student. My high school band director, because of that feeder system, I would imagine, also adopted it, Charles Hernandez. Um, but and then I started adopting it here at the university because I used it when I was teaching high school band back in Louisiana. This book, I'll just show you real quick the table of contents. And again, I wish I had a way to share my screen for you. But this book is divided into 10 sections here. Pretty sure this is longer than a 4-second delay. Okay, probably so, Sam, for safety reasons, maybe. But anyway, you can kind of see there are 10 sections here, and if it's difficult to read, each section is meant in such a way that it's, the kids can be using it personally. Now, unlike some of the books today that have CDs with accompaniment, and I think my son was using Standard of Excellence way back when he was doing, way back when, about 5 years ago when he was just learning how to play bassoon. Sorry, that would be 4 years ago. And they had accompaniments, much like not smart music because it didn't adjust to you. They were just pre-recorded accompaniments. So the Fussell book that really doesn't have that interactivity. Seems like my video is frozen for the audience, actually. So let's see what's going on. It is still streaming here, so we may be experiencing some delays and whatnot. Let's see. Other people in the chat are having buffering issues as well. Okay, I'll keep on talking here. Isn't for me. I just refreshed my browser. Okay, so yeah, it seems like if you refresh your browser, you should be okay. Thank you, Bethany. I will go ahead and continue to talk just for a few more minutes here because I think we will have a chance to archive these for people who may want to watch them later. But in the Fussell book here, there are 10 sections that go from chords, which obviously would be more of, for ensemble, ear training and whatnot. And then there are other sections with scales and there are also arpeggios, interval studies, so forth and so on. So what you'll find in this book here is back in the face-to-face session, if you've got a flute player dating a dating a trumpet player. I'm a trombonist, so they wouldn't have dated me anyway. But anyway, if you've got a flute player who's dating a trumpet player, let's just say, and she has first period band and he's got fifth period band, say that's how that thing is separated, they could actually share the same book because it's all split up in such a way that if you're doing, and I'm talking about the class environment plus the individual environment, if you're wanting to do the B flat scale, then that's, for C instruments, concert pitched instruments, that's number one. But for B flat instruments, such as trumpet and others, then that is number 7, let's just say, or whatever. I'm sorry, that is also number 1. But then what happens, and I'll show you this page here, and that's just one of our scales. Sorry, I forgot this is a mirror image right there. Let me do this one without all my handwriting there. But you can kind of see right there that if you say, let's do scale number 3, the concert pitch instruments are playing this scale. And then let's just find another one here. So they're doing that one while the B flat instruments are playing this one right here. So all they're doing is looking for number 3. But anyway, bottom line, what I'm trying to get at with the book is that it's very flexible in that sense. So a very good resource. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles like some of the other books do that some of the younger performers may find more appealing with a soundtrack behind it. But anyway, with the fundamentals, the Fussell Fundamentals Fun, as my band director sometimes called it, is basically a chart. And what you could do is have your students and talk, going back to Sam's question before about which platform may be good. You could do this live with them and say, hey, Sam, what scale do you want to do today? So this is what my band director used to do for us each day. Anybody want to do a scale? Okay, what scale do you want to do? And they would have to call out. So as a trombonist, I would say, I want to do B flat major, 2 flats, B and E. And then you would play the scale as it's written here, which includes the 9th. And I know sometimes in our all state requirements and all that, may or may not happen depending on your state's requirement. And then at the end, it has an arpeggio. So I play bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And if it was adequate, then he marked it off. Now, he was marking this off on a chart that was hanging on the wall with a big blue marker. Our school colors were red, white, and blue. We were the Roosevelt Rough Riders. So there you go. But in this virtual online environment, you can have the kids, they could see this. You could share this with them as a read only. And now they could see that this person here in number 4, which is his name is number 4, let's just say, just got that B flat scale. So you mark it off. And it's in this environment that they start seeing their friends and all that, what they're doing. This person in number 4 is doing really well. This person in number 10 is really hitting it out of the park, so to speak. So it becomes a little bit of a competition in that sense. And you can shorten these out. If you're dealing with 6th graders who just learned the instrument last year, or 7th graders learning it in their 6th grade year, you could take all of the minor scales out if you wish. You can limit this to just 5 scales. Whatever it is that's on your agenda, you can make this whatever you want. Some of the ones you may see in columns Z through AH, which I'm highlighting. I'm not sure if you'll see that. I don't think you will. Excuse me. It'll say Section 4, Part A, Section 4, Part B. There are, I'll just kind of give you an idea here. Section 4 deals with interval studies in such a way where it takes the 5th of the scale here. So this one right here, this is in the key of C. And you see you got the G there that just constantly comes back, but it's the C major scale. Repeats, optional if you want to include that or not. But in this sense here, Part A refers to all of Section 4 this page, and then Part B is all of Section 4 this page. And the rest of them, Section 5 is also done that same way, to where there are, you just say the first 6 are Part A, the second 6 are Part B. And then the last one here that I'll just share with you, I'll just kind of show you this one, is Section 8, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, and octaves. This book does not do sevenths. Sometimes we create that on our own as trombone players. But anyway, you could see Section 8 doesn't have a clef nor key signature, but it does have it where it's starting. And in this case, we're in fourths, let's just say. So you could break this up however you wish, because they only include those 7. Now, of course, if you're dealing with E flat and E major, let's just say, then you just do the same one where it starts on E flat in your appropriate clef, and you just add that key signature. So it does cover all of those scales once again. So to me, just a competitive little idea, especially in this more virtual environment where you can share with your students the opportunity for them just to read. And then as a student marks, like right now, I'm going to just take the first student there. They did C major today. Great. And you could use whatever colors you want, whether it's your school colors or, red, white, or blue, for, hey, for A, B, or C. I don't necessarily know if that would be good for the students to say, oh, so-and-so got a C on that or got a B or whatever. Probably be some, say, FERPA issues, but some privacy things here. But just to see this as a friendly competition. And what do they win? Make it up. Maybe when we get back to school next year, you get to conduct one of the pieces on the concert that you as the director get to work or something. Trying to find some creative ways that our students are still engaged and in meaningful ways. I'll just throw this idea here. When talking with my chair and my dean, the dean says, what do you do for band? He says, do you have maybe the kids just listen to a piece of music and write a report on it? And while a good idea, and it does keep kids engaged, but to me, it doesn't necessarily meet the objectives of the class that I'm looking for. Plus, it adds a layer of, I don't want to say busy work. It's not a negative response to that suggestion, because it is a good suggestion, but it doesn't necessarily meet the objectives that I'm looking for my kids in my wind ensemble. That may be perfect for some of you all that are teaching, an ensemble primarily of seniors who are about, and a lot of them do go on to be music majors or at least participate in music at the collegiate level, as a major, minor, or just as a non-music major student. So whatever works best for you. Obviously, in this environment, there are no rights and wrongs except for the things we don't do. And I think as long as we have it in our mind that we're here to really serve and get our kids through this, as well as ourselves, kind of back to my opening statement here with, there's certainly been no shortage of the music ed community really coming together and presenting all these ideas. And with Chris and her idea earlier of let's find a way to put this as a repository so everybody can have basically a one-stop shop to these sessions. I think it's just a tremendous idea of the leadership we have here in Missouri, plus also the opportunity we have of so many people, my colleagues from Elisa, who will join us on Monday with her webinar. And again, we will advertise that on Facebook. I'll do it on the Twitter as well, and try to find some other creative ways to get that word out. She will be hosting that session actually from her website. So it will be one of those where you'll just sign up. It's just one of those where it's, I believe, an email in your name, just so she has that information to follow up. I do know that she's planning on giving everyone who participates with that one a copy of her ebook, which, again, is going to be a very valuable resource about teaching, particularly in this online environment, but so many other resources as well. But with my colleagues, Adam and Todd and Phil, Elise, Julia, and Adam Klein, I just know this is just a small microcosm of how many people really are, wanting to help each other out, because that's just what we do. That's what educators do, music educators. That's just what good human beings do. So for these last 8 or so minutes, if there are any questions that you all would like to put in the chat, I'd be very happy to help out as much as possible, or just to hang out for a few more minutes. I see that we have a few of you all who are still on with me and all, but again, I hope that these ideas here are at least of some benefit to each of you, in that sense where maybe it gives you either a template, so that way you don't have to recreate the wheel, or it sparks some idea that you can then take on your own and make something that is very appropriate for your students. So again, I will put all of these links on my personal Facebook page, also the MMEA site, so that way people can access them after. I'm hoping that we can, some of the links that were shared here, but on this, so people who are watching. But if not, the MMEA website on Facebook, plus the personal website or personal Facebook page as well. We'll try to get those out there. Let me just see what's going on here. I have a colleague who was doing a scale competition because of closing, so don't have their instruments and probably won't. And Bethany, that is something even here at the university that we're having some issues. Now, our university is not closed, but we know that is an issue for some kids because the dorms are still open. Some colleges, the dorms aren't open. But yet we know that there are going to be quite a few limitations. What they're doing at our high school here in Warrensburg is they're allowing the two band directors, the middle school and the high school, to have certain hours that they can go in and basically walk out the instrument to the kids. I'm not sure if that's an option for you in your school district or not, but it does speak of what the Warrensburg, and I'm sure others, are at least understanding, in order for them to do their lab experiments at home and to still be engaged, they need their lab equipment, instruments in this case. Percussion obviously is always going to be a huge challenge when it comes to keyboard instruments, not necessarily batter instruments. I know a lot of times those pads are a very welcomed addition to the household when students are percussionists. So anyway, my heart goes out, especially to those kids who do not have access to their stuff, and particularly in the state of Kansas, where things just shut down completely for the rest of the year, but no short of what Missouri's going through right now with this isolation period. So my only suggestion there, Bethany, sorry, you asked if there were any suggestions, excuse me, would really to call her administration and ask if there's an opportunity for her to go in and to be able to, inform her students and their parents ahead of time. Let's just say 1 week's notice. Let's just say it was today. Next Thursday, I will be on campus from this time to this time. Let's just say a 3 or 4 hour window that would go beyond 5 o'clock. So that way, families who are working, quote, a typical shift that may end at 5, can we have 2 sessions? Can I go in between 9 and 12 and kids come and, like a drop-up line, they text you, or they some kind of way of letting you know that they're there without entering the building if that is a concern, which I know it was for Warrensburg. So that would be my suggestion on that. let's see, I'm just looking through the comments here. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it. Is Sight Reading Factory good for the students to be pushed on literacy? I am not familiar with that, Sam, but I heard a lot of that right after my session at MMEA. That Sight Reading Factory was actually doing very much the exact same thing that I was doing a number of years ago. Obviously, not claiming any credit for that. But Sight Reading Factory was doing what I was doing with that Pursell or Fussell book was taking section 10 and the student, there are those passages are 8 measures apiece. And what I was having the kids do was I was having them maybe read it backwards, maybe that direction for you, and changing the key or reading every odd measure, then reading every even numbered measure, stuff like that. Um, so I would say with Sight Reading Factory, from everything I've heard, absolutely, Sam. I think it would be great. And from what I understand, it's actually a platform that is already online. I don't know how it interacts with students, but definitely something that I would say is worth the look. So Jennifer, thank you very much too. I appreciate you guys logging in with this. I heard students can get a free subscription, and I'm sure a lot of places, kind of like Zoom, is understanding. Thank you, Melissa, for saying that they're offering free access. A lot, I mean, we're seeing a lot of the companies, and one of the things that here at MMEA, a lot of our vendors, what they do when they how do we support them? I think this is the time because they are really supporting us right now in waiving some of these restrictions, buying a subscription. Well, hey, we're going to give this to you as a instead of a 1 week, a 3-month or something. And that just goes to show that the amount of care that these people are here for. They obviously have to feed their families by selling the products, but I think they also understand that this is a very good way to show people this is what you could be doing to enhance that instruction as well. So there is no shortage of people stepping up and helping. So you just go through these comments just to make sure there's nothing else that, let's see, Bethy, thank you, Chris, for answering some of these questions here. Let's see, use Sight Reading Factory. Seems like it's a very good service. And again, I'm not as familiar with it. I do plan to be, especially after my session. But of course, like many of you, right after MMEA, which for us was the end of January, life took a little bit of a turn. We had a concert in February with Frank Kelly to get prepared for, and all of a sudden, we have an extended spring break, although I'm not on the beach. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody's at the beach. Anyway, let's see. Excellent. Good. So to wrap up things here, and I see you all helping each other out, goes right back to my point. The Facebook, or sorry, the YouTube live sessions here are going to be for the remainder of these sessions. Again, the only exception to that will be Elisa's that she's going to do this coming Monday. It will be straight through to her website. And again, we will post those links. My plan is to post them no later than Sunday, but probably by Friday or Saturday online and ask you all to help spread that word. But for Adam, Todd, Phil, Elise, and Julia, and her husband Adam, we plan to use this exact same format here. And Julia, no problem. I will definitely walk you guys through this so that way we all have the exact same account. So that way there's no issue with connectivity or availability or anything like that. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you all. So I will be posting those things. Thank you, Danny, on Facebook. And we'll be making this video available to you all who have watched. Maybe there's something you want to revisit, or for any of your colleagues who maybe not been able to join us today that you find that there may be something of interest here. So thank you all very much. I'll kind of just hang out on the line here for a moment in case you guys have any other remaining questions or if there's any other final interactivity and all. But when I see our number goes down to 0, I will log off. So God bless each and every one of you. It is a trying time, but we will get through this together. And thank you all very much. And Chris, thank you for the suggestion for doing this. It just goes to show we've got great leadership here in Missouri. So you guys have a great afternoon. Stay safe. And while I see the numbers dwindle, I'll drink some more water. I'm not sure. Maybe if there's, I will go ahead and end the stream now. So bye, everyone. Thank you all very much. And to my former students there, it was really great to see you all online. And um, let me know how you all are doing, whether we do something like a Facebook chat or Zoom or something. And thank you, Chris. I will make sure that I pass that along as well as far as your email address. So thank you, dear. Goodbye, everyone.